Schiff announced plans today to introduce legislation that would put an end to the theme park shows that feature killer whales. Schiff is calling for an end to breeding captive orchids, capturing wild orcas, or importing or exporting the killer whales. He says that making the whales live in captivity is unnatural and leads to aggressive behavior, resulting in attacks like the one that killed a SeaWorld trainer several years ago.
The orcas are uniquely unsuited for life in captivity. Orcas are too socially complex, too intelligent, too long-lived, and simply too big to thrive in confinement.
SeaWorld, which has been under fire for its treatment of killer whales, issued a statement saying the company does not neglect or abuse the creatures. The company says it will fight any legislation in court.
There's some facts about SeaWorld we'd like you to know.
We don't collect killer whales from the wild and haven't for 35 years.
With the highest standard of animal care in the world, our whales are healthy.
They're thriving.
It wouldn't work here if they weren't.
And government research shows they live just as long as whales in the wild.
Caring for these whales, we have a great responsibility to get that right.
And we take it very seriously because we love them.
And we know you love them too.
There's been a lot of unfair criticism about SeaWorld these days, and it has a lot of people asking questions, which I totally get. So today what we're here to do is to try to answer one of those key questions that almost everybody has about our killer whales. So the question comes from Kylie on Twitter, and Kylie asks, PETA says killer whales in the wild live 30 to 50 years on average, but your whales have an average lifespan of only 9 years. Is that true? Kylie, firstly, thank you for asking the question. And I gotta tell you, it's absolutely not true. But you don't just have to take our word for it. Some of the best marine mammal researchers in the world work for the federal government at the Alaska Fisheries Science Center. You know what they found? That killer whales that live at SeaWorld live just as long as killer whales in the wild. In fact, one of the authors of that report told the Wall Street Journal, quote, "Survival in the wild is comparable to survival in captivity." That doesn't happen by accident. The reason our killer whales are living long lives, thriving and healthy here at SeaWorld is because of the comprehensive health care program that we can provide for them.
Yeah, so let's just switch over to Trua so we can push that.
We've really just been monitoring her for hormonal activity to see if she's cycling normally, but health-wise, everything has looked really normal.
Let's just look at her from Trua. So.
Every single day, SeaWorld vets and animal care staff do a thorough examination of every whale. We may measure the whale to see what their pattern of growth is. We may collect body weights from the whales. The veterinarians will check urine, will collect cells from their airway. We can culture those things, look under a microscope, and look for trends in the health of that individual whale.
And then how much serum are we banking? As much as we can get?
As much as we can get.
Okay.
That way we
Okay.
have lots of serum banked for all the researchers that are coming along and wanting serum.
Okay, we collect bloods from all of our killer whales. We can identify subtle changes in their blood results that will give us a hint as to whether a killer whale is beginning to become sick. And then we can intervene early and stave off the illness altogether.
Yeah, I've been able to upload it into his record. This eye looked great. It looked completely normal.
All of these tests allow us to very, very closely monitor the health of each and every single killer whale. And that's why we're here. That's why we've got the largest killer whale care staff in the world. I'm a veterinarian, and just like doctors, we veterinarians take an oath. I wouldn't work here if I wasn't able to give these whales the world-class care they deserve. So don't believe what PETA and Blackfish are saying. Our killer whales live lives just as long as killer whales in the wild. We hope that answers your question, Kylie, and thank you very much for asking it. We know you love killer whales, and boy, I'll tell you, we love killer whales too. So please keep those questions coming. We're eager to answer every single one.
There's been a lot of lies circulating about how we take care of our animals here at SeaWorld. The truth is, SeaWorld is recognized as a world leader in animal care. But that's not what the groups behind the film Blackfish or PETA wants to make you to believe. In letters to schools, PETA accuses SeaWorld of keeping its killer whales in over-chlorinated tanks. I want to introduce you to Michael Tucker, who is in charge of maintaining water quality here at SeaWorld.
To test for chlorine, we use what's called a colorimetric test. The presence of a pink color denotes the presence of chlorine. As you can see right away, there's a lot of chlorine in our tap water. So the water that you actually use to brush your teeth, drink, and shower in has more chlorine in it than any facility here at SeaWorld.
we take great measure to ensure that the water our killer whales are swimming in is healthy. For instance, here at SeaWorld San Diego, we maintain what's called a natural seawater semi-open system. When it's time to bring in new water, we return the pool water back to Mission Bay, cleaner than it was when we brought it in. We also keep our pools at a perfect 58 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Now that may seem cool to us, but that's a perfect temperature for a killer whale. The truth is, at SeaWorld, we've dedicated our lives to taking care of these amazing animals. We know you love these whales, and we love them too.
John Hargrove was a very dear friend of mine for many years, and there's this footage in Blackfish of John with blood all over his face, right? And if you didn't know anything about SeaWorld or what goes on, and you just watch this movie, you think, oh my God, a killer whale did that to him. No, he hit his head on the side of the pool, just jumping in a shallow area. So it had nothing to do with the animals at all.
My mission is to inspire people to care about killer whales in the wild all over the world.
The work we're doing here at SeaWorld has been and is essential to understanding and protecting the killer whales in the wild.
My hope for people when they leave SeaWorld is that getting close to these animals will actually make them care more than they did when they came. That these magnificent creatures touch them the way that they've inspired and touched us.
I became a marine biologist and a veterinarian because when I was a teenager, I went to SeaWorld.
The first time I came to SeaWorld, I was 19 years old, and it changed me forever.
It's my passion. It's my life's work to make sure that the health and well-being of our animals is met every single day.
I knew that I wanted to dedicate my life to caring and protecting these animals, and that's exactly what I've done.
I believe everyone is entitled to their opinion as long as it is an educated opinion and you seek out that knowledge and you see both sides before you make a decision. What has really personally affected me about Blackfish is all the kids that watch this movie, or their parents watch this movie, and that's all they know and that's all they see about SeaWorld. And now these kids don't even get the opportunity to understand why it's important that we have these animals and what these animals in this park can do to inspire these kids, like myself, to someday, because I was that kid, to grow up and help with conservation efforts and rescue efforts.
One of the things in particular in Blackfish was they focused on Kasaka and Takara and separating them. And in the movie, they showed this baby killer whale, and they imply that Takara was a juvenile or even an infant. And that's just something we would never do. Takara was an adult female that had a calf of her own. And the calf actually went on the transport with her mother because we don't want to separate moms and babies. Keeping them together is critical for their success. So it makes us seem like this evil place that rips mothers from babies, and we just don't do that. Blackfish just isn't real, you know? Why would I work for a company that does the things that they say in that movie? I mean, you know, I've devoted 23 years to this company. I'm a mother of 4. I want to be a good role model for my kids, you know? I'm proud of what I do.
Our killer whales are unique. They are incredible animals, and they are world recognized. People love killer whales, and so do we. We love these animals because in many cases we've been working with them for decades. We have certainly dedicated our lives and our careers and a lot of our personal time to their health and well-being. Our approach to killer whale care really epitomizes our overall animal care and welfare programs. It starts with our preventive health care program. Whether they're healthy or sick, our killer whales see their doctors once a month, and that's the bare minimum. Compare that to your dog's annual physical, which happens once a year, or even how often you go to see your doctor. We know that these are incredible animals. We know that they are paying attention to their environment and that they have evolved complex behaviors and smarts to survive in a foreboding environment like the ocean. So we take that to heart in our care programs. We create dynamic, stimulating behavioral sessions, challenging the killer whales to solve problems as they learn new behaviors. We create, through our animal trainers, environmental enrichment devices, puzzles, and toys for the whales to use. They work with trained animal behaviorists on a daily basis to create a dynamic and stimulating environment for them.
One of the reasons I've been here at SeaWorld for 23 years is because every day I see that child that is touched and inspired like I was. I see myself. I was that child, and I think I may be making a difference, that child may dedicate their lives to caring for animals, protecting animals. That feels like a privilege.
Most people don't realize that the vast majority of our killer whales were born in our care. Behind me is Kalia and her 4.5-month-old calf, Amaya. She is just one of over 30 successful killer whale calves we've had born in our parks. Recently, we got a question on this exact topic from Sammy on Twitter. Sammy asks, so you say you don't collect the whales from the wild. Where do they come from then? Thank you for your question, Sammy. The truth is, SeaWorld hasn't collected a killer whale from the wild in over 35 years. For your reference, that's back when President Carter was in the White House. I understand that some people are uncomfortable with the fact that killer whales were once taken from the wild, but the world has changed a lot since then, and we have changed with it. So we want to share more about how our killer whales are helping us to protect their counterparts in the wild.
There are a lot of different groups that are saying things like, well, there's nothing that we can learn from whales in captivity. In the case of my research, that's absolutely not the case.
PeTA and other critics of SeaWorld have said that there's no value in keeping killer whales in captivity. I disagree with that.
My area of expertise is bioacoustics, which is understanding animal communication and perception, and I'm interested in the dialects of killer whales.
My research focuses on trying to understand natural carbon monoxide levels that are produced in mammals.
Our work on heart rate is allowing us to develop the tools to examine the electrocardiogram and actually know that we are getting an accurate record of heart rate in the animals while they're diving. Once we've accomplished this here at SeaWorld, we can now use these techniques when we go to sea and put these on animals at sea to see how these animals are able to dive as deep and as long as they do.
The work that we're doing is important for helping to manage the killer whales in the wild because we're learning about the flexibility and the adaptability of their dialect system in a way that you can't plan an experiment like this in the wild.
Having whales at SeaWorld is a great opportunity for scientists like myself to come here and collect very controlled samples that are otherwise impossible to collect in the wild.
Those are just 3 examples of more than a dozen research projects we're working on to benefit killer whales everywhere. We're proud of the work that we've done, but we're committed to doing even more. That's why we recently announced we're investing $10 million, the largest private investment of its kind, for studying and protecting killer whales in the wild. The truth is, we love these whales. We've dedicated our lives and careers to giving them world-class care today and for years to come. Thanks again for the question, and keep them coming.